Thanks, Iyad, for coming online, for sitting down to be interviewed. I really appreciate your time. I know it is 7 p.m. right now in Dubai. Thank you so much. Can you tell us a bit about your background and professional journey in the field of anti-fraud practices?
See, I will tell you something interesting. No one will start his career thinking he's going to go and fight fraud. Like for me, when I graduated from high school and I want to go study in a university, I was not thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go and become an anti-fraud, champion and fight fraud. I was thinking, I have a dreams. I want to be an actor. So I want to do acting. But when my dad told me, listen, you don't understand life. You are still teenagers, acting is not going to get you anywhere. You are going to be getting here, going there. You may not have a profession, career. You need to have something that's stable, something that you are good at, and something that can help you earn money. And at the same time, it will have progress career. So in that way, you have future. So I said, so what should I do? He told me, you are very good in mathematics. You are very good in understanding numbers. So why don't you study finance and accounting? So I thought, okay, that's a nice idea. So I tried to explore accounting and finance, and I noticed that I'm so good at it. It's so easy, comes easy to me to deal with financial statement, with numbers, with accounting, with financial reports. So I decided to go and study, finance and accounting. And while I'm studying finance and accounting, I discovered that, I don't really like accounting as accounting. I don't like really finance as finance, but I like more the auditing side of it, where you go to the different clients and you audit different reports and you find exactly what went wrong, and you find what are the deficiencies and how can you fix it. So I decided to go more into auditing. And while I'm studying auditing, I discovered that one part of the auditing is uncovering fraud. And I was more interested in this area. So after I graduated from my university, I decided to find a job that's suitable for me related to this area. So I was in Chicago at that time, and I did an interview with a very wonderful organization called National Futures Association, this is the organization responsible for regulating the futures and options market in the US. And I was lucky to get an entry job position with them as, auditor. So my job was very interesting because we had more than 2,000 hedge funds and different, trading firms all over the world that we have to audit. So every week I will be in different state, in different, city, auditing different firms, understanding different operation, auditing anti-money laundering practices, auditing financial reports, auditing operation. So 1 week I will be in New York, 1 week in Hawaii, 1 week in Miami, 1 week in Las Vegas, Los Angeles. So I lived in like 35 states over 3 years while I was learning, how to explore all these issues related to, auditing and fraud in the financial industry. And after that, after that 2008 financial crisis, it was not anymore auditing. It was more looking after all these hedge funds that they said they lost money, but actually they didn't lose money, or they ran away with the money. So it was a nightmare in US. So I decided after that in 2010 to come back to Middle East, to Dubai. And I started my own company called Open Thinking Academy in Dubai. And we start teaching different courses related to auditing and fraud. And then we partnered with the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and we became the first ACFE Authorized Trainer all over the world to deliver the CFE, the Certified Fraud Examiner Certificate. And since then, that was like 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, we helped more than 4,000 anti-fraud professionals become certified fraud examiner and pass the CFE certificates. So when we are continuing supporting the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, supporting fraud fighters all over the world, for them to have the proper knowledge and education for them to be able to do their work.
Wow. Congratulations on opening your own academy. That is such a great achievement. Okay, for your next question, what specific areas within anti-fraud practices do you specialize in? Could you share a notable accomplishment or project related to anti-fraud practices that you're particularly fond of?
So see, when we are speaking about anti-fraud practices, So many individuals, they are speaking about anti-fraud and saying it's anti-fraud practices, but actually the correct definition of it, we call it anti-fraud strategies. Why strategy? Because in the same way, we are speaking about, we have financial strategies, we have marketing strategies, we have, operational strategies. Today in organizations, we need to introduce anti-fraud strategies, because anti-fraud is not practices done on, certain department, done on an organizational level as a strategy. So when we speak about anti-fraud strategy, we have three elements we focus on. We focus, number one, on fraud prevention. We focus, number two, on fraud detection. And we focus, number three, on fraud response. So in case fraud happen, what are we going to do after we uncover it? So these are the three elements where we focus on it. But the fundamental for all of them, for the anti-fraud practices or strategies we are talking about, is governance and culture. So the organization, do they have the proper culture? Do they have the proper governance for them to be able to fight fraud? If they don't have the governance and culture, if they don't have the structure, the processes, all what we are talking about is only, procedures that they have written somewhere on their server. It's not going to work. Internal controls are not going to work, because culture will eat strategy for breakfast. So this is why what I focus on is not only on one area. I focus on different areas. I deliver different courses related to fraud prevention, fraud risk assessment. I deliver different courses related to fraud investigation, and in different industry. So it can be the banking industry, it can be the government industry, it can be healthcare, real estate, because fraud is existing everywhere. Now, one of the things that I was working on it recently, and is going to come soon in the market next year, we are launching a new certificate for anti-fraud, not for fraud examination. Because most of the certification that currently in the market, they are focusing on auditing fraud, focusing on investigating fraud, focusing on uncovering fraud. No. This is all after the fraud happened. So what's the benefit? Okay, it's good that we will figure out what happened, but this is after the money lost and the organization suffered. We are launching for the first time a new certificate focusing on anti-fraud practices, by saying what we need to go and figure out, how can we prevent fraud, how can we catch fraud at early stages, and how can we respond to fraud. So in that way, professionals will be able to earn this certificate for them to be able to implement the proper internal control, implement the proper risk management, so fraud from the beginning will not happen, or they catch it at early stages. So they will fight fraud rather than deal with the fraud and investigate fraud after the fact. So hopefully next year it will be launched. I can't give so much details about it because until now everything is confidential, but I've been working on it for the last 2 years to create a full curriculum for someone to be able to understand how can we fight fraud rather than only investigate fraud.
That sounds really great. And I'm also interested to hear more about that. As soon as that's ready, I'd love to hear more about it. I'm pretty sure it's not just me, but a few of our FFA members would be interested to learn more about this. In your experience, what are some common challenges faced in anti-fraud practices, and how do you approach solving them?
So one of the most interesting thing, which is they always say, fraud is not a good news. Fraud is a bad news. And no leader in any organization in the world, they would like to hear this news. Imagine you are coming to the chairman, you are coming to the board of directors, to the CEO, saying, we have a problem, we have a fraud. Now, first, other than the money they lost, now they need to go, oh my God, who did this? Or are we going to fire them? They are key individuals inside our organization. We are going to lose them. Now this is going to go to the press. It's going to be a big scandal. Now this is going to affect the shareholders. What are we going to tell to these individuals who are, going to look at this report? Our investors, our bankers, our regulators. So fraud is never a good news. And this is the biggest challenge. When fraud examiners, fraud fighters are going to uncover fraud, executives inside the organization, they don't want to deal with that. In so many organizations all over the world, unfortunately, what will happen? They say, oh my God, fraud happened. Okay, don't worry. Tell us how much the amount. We will figure it out. Let's close this and move on. So the issue with the fraud fighting, that you need to have the ability to go and be brave and say, what we are dealing with here is a situation that needs to be investigated. You need to speak with the right channel inside the organization. So if the fraud department is reporting to the CEO, it's not going to work. You need to report to the audit committee, to the chairman, to the board of directors in a way that will allow you to carry your job properly. Otherwise, sometime what will happen, the fraud fighters, when he will uncover the fraud, he will be fired and the fraudster will stay inside the organization. And we can see this in so many organizations, unfortunately. And this is the biggest challenge. Our job as a fraud fighters is on the line because, when you are going to discover fraud, it's not going to be good news.
Wow. Yes. So it can be a very sticky or scary situation at times, right? Wow. Okay. All right. Next question. Professional insights. Okay. So next is, what emerging trends or technologies do you think will have a significant impact on the future of anti-fraud practices? Or also, how do you stay updated on the latest developments in the field? Like, what resources would you recommend to our fellow community members?
So today, when we are speaking about fraud globally, based on the latest survey, annually fraud is accounting for only 1 trillion. So 1 trillion is not that much because our global GDP is around 107 trillion. But when we speak about other types of crimes, which is cybercrime accounted last year for more than 7 trillion. So today we can see criminals are moving to using artificial intelligence, using system for them to be able to do fraud. And we can see fraud happening today more externally rather than internally. In the old days, when we speak about it at the Association of Certified Fraud Examiner, we speak about occupational fraud, where someone inside the organization is doing fraud. It can be asset misappropriation, corruption, or financial statement fraud. But this today represents only 30%. 70% of the fraud is happening externally. It's happening from someone outside the organization. It can be done completely by external party, or it can be in collusion between an external party and the internal party. But this is the major danger. Our customers, our vendors, our partners, the hackers, different organizations, our competitors are always targeting us to be able to do fraud. This is why fraud fighters, they need to understand today we are not dealing anymore with individuals inside the organization trying to do fraud, but with there so many parties externally outside the organization. And we need to understand how can we uncover their fraud, how can we investigate it, how can we work with the regulators, how can we create awareness inside the organization to tell them, listen, we know you are honest, we know you are amazing managers, amazing directors, but you need to help us in fighting fraud. It's not our role. You need to make sure you are getting the knowledge about all the different schemes that these scammers and criminals are using against you for them to be able to take the money from the organization. So the challenge today is you need to go and learn about all these new trends and techniques. And these fraudsters are very innovative. The way they are conducting today the schemes are unbelievable sophisticated, using artificial intelligence. They will call you, record your voice, record your audio, like what we are doing now, and then they will use it against you. This is why it's very dangerous today in the world we are living in if you have a video like this, because someone can take the video that I'm doing now with you, and they can take my face and my audio and convert it with a different background into a different video and send it to someone else. And like I'm saying, please, I'm stuck in the airport, I need money. And someone can use that and now send them the money. So we are living in a very dangerous world. This can happen to a CEO of an organization. He's making a news announcement. They will take his video, his voice, and send it to different parties inside the organization saying, we have a new vendor, we need to process a payment. So this is the challenges that we are dealing with. So what is the solution? The solution that anti-fraud professionals, they need to use also artificial intelligence. They need to use ChatGPT for them to be able to fight fraud. So they need to use these advanced tools. Otherwise, they are going to be outdated and AI are going to replace them.
So I guess to make things short, knowledge is key. It's very important to stay updated. Collaboration and community engagement. How do you believe collaboration within our community can strengthen anti-fraud efforts? Are there specific initiatives or projects you'd like to see our community undertake to enhance our collective impact?
Yes, I think there is recently the Association of Certified Fraud Examiner participated in something called anti-fraud collaboration, which is different collaboration between different entities for them to be able to fight fraud. And this is what we are looking for. Unfortunately, when fraud fighters, they keep the information to themselves and the trend to themselves, fraudsters will take advantage of it. Like what happened, for example, in Carbanak attack. Carbanak attack happened by criminal hackers who hacked major international banks, and they stole from them more than $1 billion over a span of 2 years. Why this happened? Because when they hacked the first bank didn't tell anyone, didn't tell the central bank, didn't tell any bank. Then they hacked another bank. The other bank didn't tell anyone. Because there is no collaboration, there is no sharing of information, there is no sharing of trends, of schemes, of current issues, no one was aware of their practices. And today we can see this, especially in UAE. In UAE, we have what we call UAE Bank Federation. With the UAE Bank Federation, they have a committee called Fraud Prevention Committee. And this committee is made out of different banks who will meet on a regular basis to discuss what are the current trends related to fraud. So in that way, they will be able to know what's going on in different banks. So if someone trying to do a kind of a scam on one bank, this bank will inform the other banks so they are aware. So sharing information and collaboration between fraud fighters will help us stand in front of these criminals.
Wow, I guess sharing is caring. So that's amazing to hear. Advice for peers. Based on your experience, what advice would you offer to professionals who are relatively new to the field of anti-fraud practices? Are there also any lessons learned from your career that you'd like to share with others in the community?
So always when someone will say, I'm starting my career in anti-fraud, what should I do? What I always say, I say, you need to learn the good practices. Because it's like in any kind of job, if you learn the bad habits, it's hard for you to get rid of them. Like you are speaking about fraud fighting. Fraud fighting is like boxing. In boxing, you have certain moves. The first thing in boxing, they say you need to defend yourself. You need to have your hands up. So if you don't have your hands up, someone's going to hit you. So the common mistake for beginners that they always do boxing like this. They are doing like this. They have their hands down. Then they say, no. Once you develop this bad habit, it's hard to get rid of it. Always you need to have your hands up. Then you fight. At the same time, when you are fighting, you should have the right movement when you are moving your body. So this is also very important. The same thing for fraud fighters. For fraud fighters, they need to learn the best practices. They need to learn the global standards. So in that way, when they are conducting fraud examination, they are not going to do it based on what they watch in movies on Netflix, which is so many of it is not correct, based on what they hear, based on what they think, or based on the common practices inside their organization. Maybe it's actually outdated, it's not correct. This is why we always recommend for them to be able to become certified fraud examiner, to earn a certificate that will help them understand what are the proper way of conducting investigation, what are the proper way of conducting an interview, how can they write the fraud examination report in the proper globally accepted format, how they can document the evidence in the proper way, how can they analyze the information using data analytics, how they can figure out the different kind of fraud schemes, and how can legally classify it, because fraud is a legal issue. If you uncover fraud, but you classify it in your document at a different legal term, when you go to court or to take a case, you will lose it. So having the knowledge and earning the certificate to become certified fraud examiner is the foundation for any anti-fraud professional, for them to be able to be ready to work in an environment where they are applying the best practices in the world.
Great advice. Like, I'm getting so interested just hearing you talk about it. It's very exciting. Knowledge is something that, you know, I love reading. I love learning anything new. So this whole industry is just exciting me right now. So hearing you speak so passionately about it is just amazing. Okay, so let's take a break from, you know, anti-fraud practices. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Okay, so outside of your professional life, what are some hobbies or interests that you enjoy? Is there a particular quote or mantra that inspires you in your work life?
In the same way, in my professional life, I fight fraud. In my personal life, I like to do boxing. I like to do fighting, but fighting, you know, just for fun. So it's always an interesting when you are understanding how can you always go to the next level? How can you level up in your professional life by earning different certificates and by earning, like a master's degree, by progressing in your career. But at the same time, one of the things that I love to do and I do every day, I like to do sport. I like to do boxing, cycling. I like to do, weightlifting. I like to do yoga. So I do around 2 hours of workout every day just to keep me motivated because, they say fitness and health is the essential for you to be able to advance in not only in your personal career, but also in your professional career. It will give you the motivation. So this is one of the things that I love to do. But at the same time, one of the things that I really like, which is acting, which is I still have the idea of acting. So what I did, I mixed my personal hobby with my professional career. And most of the training that I deliver all over the world, I deliver it using costumes. So I don't come to the organization wearing a suit and a tie, but rather I will come wearing a different costume to deliver the message in the proper way. So for example, one organization said, I want you to deliver a course related to financial statement fraud. It's a very complicated topic. So I come as a chef. So I'm wearing the hat of a chef, and in front of me, I have all the ingredients to make a dish, but I'm explaining to them how accountants, they cook the book, how cooking the books similar to someone doing fraud. So I will explain the concept to them of the ingredients and how much we add of it, which is the estimates and assumptions that use in accounting concepts, and how can someone use different recipes not to cook, to cook the books, to modify the books. So using different kinds of approach to deliver complicated topics and make it very simple and easy for someone to understand. It's very interesting for the person who's listening to it, but at the same time, it's very interesting for, me to make sure I'm not getting bored by delivering these complicated topics in a standard PowerPoint format. You can see, like I have a YouTube channel, just you can search Iyad Mourtada at YouTube, and I have hundreds of videos where you can see me with different outfits delivering the training in a very interactive way.
Oh, that's amazing. I'd love to see that. I'm going to check that out after this call. But other than that, that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing from you. It's such an honor to be able to sit down and hear your thoughts and your insights. And I think that the FFA members will be so happy to just watch this interview. Thank you again on behalf of the FFA community and me as well for your time.
Thank you so much for the interview. And in case any of your members are interested in becoming certified fraud examiners, we can help them as we have more than 4,000 anti-fraud professionals. They can visit our website, openthinking.ae, and we can help them attend the CFE review course virtually or face-to-face in different cities all over the world. So, it's a very interesting certificate. They can get certified in 4 days or within 4 weeks if they don't want to attend daily courses. So we have both options, and this certificate definitely is going to add benefit to their knowledge and their career progress.
I myself, I am interested as well, so I can't wait to look it up, and hopefully I'll be one of your students. You're amazing. I learned so much just from that. I'm so excited to look you up on your YouTube and also to look more into the classes that you've got. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for your time. I know it's late. Have dinner and spend time with your family and things. So thank you.